Alrighty, so news of the week episode on this Saturday afternoon. Yes, I usually never do news of the week episode on a Saturday unless, of course, it is the off season where I do two news of the week episode because there's a lot news in regarding transfer reports and also signings. And I think this also kind of perfectly sums up of what we've seen in the last couple of days too, because ever since the transfer window has been open in MLS, we have had a lot of transfer rumors and signing that has already happened. And by the way, at the time of this recording, I'm recording this right around noon, so there could be some more news that I didn't put here on the board, and I might also do another news of the week episode in the middle of the week among the MLS All Star break to talk about some more signings that has happened because something tells me throughout this Leeds Cup, there's going to be a lot of signings and transfer that is going to happen throughout this summer before the transfer window will slam shut in a couple of weeks. Now, we start off with the Galaxy have announced that they have hired Mikel Etcher as their new technical director. Now, this is a guy that, from what I heard, he was the head scouting uh, person during his time with FC Copenhagen, and knowing the fact that the Galaxy desperately needed to have a good scouting department and someone that has that background for a very long time, this is not a big surprise that they decided to name him as the technical director. And also, this does means that I think Greg Vanny his position of him being the head coach, and I think he was supposed to be a guy that also made the decision in terms of the signings they have. It seems like now he doesn't have that responsibility anymore. Now he's just plainly the head coach of the team, and I don't think Greg Vanny would mind that because again, he's done a great job so far doing his time with a head coach, and we have seen before where sometimes a head coach slash a technical director has been pretty good in terms of building their team, and some head coach want to have that unlimited power in terms of what they have say in terms of who is in their personality, but there's also times where it doesn't work out very well, and it could actually work out in a bad way when you have a head coach that have unlimited power in terms of making the signings and acting as technical director. And I'm pretty sure Sporting KC fans are basically pointing that out with Peter Vermes still being the head coach and the guy that makes all the decision. And so far, it hasn't really quite worked out for him and also the Sporting KC side this season. Now, the Galaxy, they have also announced that they've close to sign Marco Reus as a free agency, and I think this is the best kept secret right now in the league. It is pretty clear that Marco Reus is going to be coming to MLS, and it's also pretty clear that it looks like the Galaxy is going to be the one that wins the Marco Reus sweepstake. Now, it's going to be interesting that when Marco Reus does come to the Galaxy, I wonder how many games he's going to be playing for this team. He's probably not going to be a starter that's going to be starting every single game because one of the big issue Marco Reus doing his career that really kind of hamper his career and really kind of really holding back becoming one of the best attacking player in the world is the amount of injuries that he's suffered throughout his career. He has suffered a ton of injuries throughout his career, and he has had problem in terms of staying healthy, and that's going to be something that the Galaxy will be well aware of that, and that knowing that he's also near the twilight of his career, you can't just start a 30 plus year old day in and day out and not expect that injuries is going to happen. I mean, look what happened right now with Inter Miami and with Messi of the fact that he's been suffering a lot of injuries when they decide to play him week in and week out, and sometimes that has kind of come to a factor because of starting week in and week out, and that unfortunately, as we'll talk about in a bit, it seems like Messi might not be available for the All Star game this year in Columbus. Now, St. Louis, they have announced that they have traded Sam Adeniran to the Philadelphia Union for up to 450,000 general allocation money. Now, this was always going to be on the cards, considering the fact that Sam Adeniran, from what I heard, not only the fact that he kind of fell out with Bradley Carnell, but he's also been having some problem when it comes to being a good locker room presence. I've heard that a lot of St. Louis fans, even the players, have said that Sam Adeniran has not been good in terms of being in that locker room, and that I think that also kind of maybe sums up why Bradley Carnell decided to not pick him and kind of put him in a doghouse for a bit, and that now it's going to be interesting that he's going to the Union again. I think in some way it kind of benefit both parties because for St. Louis they get rid of guy that is not a good locker room presence and still get some money out of that. And not to mention his contract is going to be expire at the end of the season. So to get something out of that, that is definitely an extra bonus. But the fact that I think this benefits Sam and Dannerin as well. He's going to go to a team that is the Union, and I know the Union has not had a great season, and they're all looking on eyes on a rebuild that is coming soon, and they're going to tear down the main core that they have for the past couple of years. But if there's one head coach that will not take any BS or any just lack of work ethic, it's Jim Curtin. Jim Curtin is one of the best head coach, not only on in terms of tactically, but he's a guy that he can manage the Eagles and manage the players that are clearly not playing well. And if Santa Darren can think that he can go to the Union and have that same attitude, yeah, that's not gonna work out. I won't be surprised he might get himself in the same situation that he found himself last year, where I think the real reason now that we know why Darren wasn't being picked game in and game out is because of that toxic locker room kind of presence that St. Louis been wanting to get rid of him for a while, and now it seems like that is the case. And I also mentioned that it seems like they already are lining up a replacement for him in just a bit in this News of the Week episode. But moving on to the next news, we got the Houston Dynamo signing winger Lawrence Anelli for to the largest U22 initiative contract in club history. So the Dynamo wastes no time in terms of really taking advantage of the U22 initiative updated rule. I mentioned it already before. This is going to be really benefit for a lot of these teams that want to sign young players, but they don't want to use a DP tag on them, so they can use the U22 initiative spot as well. In certain way, you could say that it's kind of like now teams have got six designated player where they get like three designated player spot, but also you get the free U22 initiative, and knowing that a lot of teams have been able to spend like their third DP or in some case their fourth DP on a lot of the young players, the U22 initiative spot will really help create that flexibility for a lot of these teams, and the Dynamo is definitely one that's taking no. They waste no time to take advantage of it. And while I don't know a lot about him, I do think that he's going to be a good player, knowing that they pay him a hefty amount of money and just add more fuel in terms of what is a really good Dynamo attack this season. Now, the Portland Timbers, they have announced they have signed New Zealand youth international defender Finn Sermon. So last time when the Timbers decided to sign a defender coming out of New Zealand, that's Bill Tuolumne. And it turns out he actually went pretty, turns out to be a rock for this Timbers defense. And not to mention, when it comes to Kiwi defenders, they actually have been having pretty good. They actually have done pretty good so far in the league. I mean, I can't mention a Kiwi defender without mentioning Michael Bach, so who has been just a rock for Minnesota week in and week out. Really for ever since he came to this team, and still currently the longest serving player for the Loons. And yeah, we'll see how well he's going to do. I mean, he is a guy that is relatively young, and again, it's not surprise the Timbers need some reinforcement on the defense. While their attack has been really good, one of the things that I've mentioned throughout the season that's kind of hold back the Timbers, it's that back line has been problematic. And while it has gone better, they still need some reinforcement. Speaking of defenders, so Toronto, they have decided they have signed defender Henry Wingo. Remember Henry Wingo doing his time with the Seattle Sounders, and everybody thought that maybe he could be the next best thing. Yeah, it didn't quite worked out. And it's also kind of interesting that they label him as a defender, even though he plays as a midfielder during his time with the Seattle Sounders. So maybe now he's kind of switched to a new position, maybe playing in the wingback position, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, again, TFC, this is another team that desperately needs some defensive help, and honestly, that's probably their number one priority. Consider doing this bad winless run. What has been the biggest problem of why TFC has kind of took a huge fall from grace and go through bad spell play? Well, it's none other than the defense. Just kind of turned back to the form that they were in 2023, just leaking goals left and right. And I don't know if Henry Wingo will move a needle in terms of that. It feels more like a depth signing, if anything. But certainly, they'll need any help that they can get in terms of fixing that back line, and that's going to be the case even throughout the season as well. Now, moving on, and now talk about some of the transfer rumors. So, there was a report suggesting that Brighton is nearing a deal to sign Inter Miami midfielder Diego Gomez, and it seems like the deal is going to be around like $15 million dollar, which is going to be made make us one of the biggest outbound transfer in league history, and it's not a big surprise because it seems like Premier League team they always like to jack up. Or actually, MLSC when they asked for Premier League team to get some of their players. They always jacked up the price because we know Premier League teams have a lot of money. In fact, there's a reason why the Premier League is a league that has teams that has the most expensive transfer budget out of anybody in the world. So yeah, I think this is a good signing both for Brighton. I mean, it's gonna be a bit of a miss for Inter Miami because Diego Gomez means a lot to the this team. He's probably one of the more important player that is not Messi and some of his friends as well on this team that is on the roster. But this also kind of just a sign for Inter Miami, the fact that they are now starting to prove that there can be a team that can develop some good young South American player, but eventually they would sell them off for a huge amount of money. We saw Atlanta being the pioneer to doing so, and now it feels like Inter Miami is trying to do so. And what a way to do so if they could get this deal done, getting $15 million, and not to mention going back to what I said about the video about the new updated roster rule, they can actually use up to $3 million of general allocation money if this transfer will go through. So yeah, not only the fact that Inter Miami will get that sum of fee in terms of transfer, but they can convert it into GAM and they can convert it more than ever before because of the new roster rule. Now, San Diego, they are report to sign Northern Ireland international defender Paddy McNair from Middlesbrough. Now, this is a guy that I don't know too much about him, but it was a player that I've heard a couple of years that looks like the Seattle Sounders were one of the team that were looking to try to get him. Didn't of course happen, but yeah, no doubt that we'll see if this signing does complete, and knowing the fact that he is a Northern Ireland international defender and play in the championship, which is kind of right around the same level, if not above the level that MLS is. I think this could be a good signing for San Diego, and not to mention getting a veteran present at the back will always help an expansion team as well. And then there is also a report saying that RSL is looking to sign former Orlando City for Benji Michel. So remember Benji Michel doing his time with Orlando, done very well, and then eventually he did make his move to Europe. Now, obviously, he's kind of one of those players where his move to Europe didn't really quite work out, and it seems like now he's coming back to MLS. And I was kind of surprised that maybe Orlando City might not think about re-signing him, but I can also understand why that is the case, considering they still have Duncan McGuire and also Luis Moriel. The number 9 position is not one area that they would really need to worry about, or at least on the attacking front. Now that they've started doing much better, that might be not an area that they might prioritize. But for RSL, that's kind of also interesting too. I don't think the attack is also an area that RSL need to prioritize. In fact, RSL don't really need to prioritize anything throughout this summer transfer window. I mean, yeah, they can upgrade their team, but their team is already very stacked, and I feel like this is just adding more fuel to the already burning fire that RSL has when it comes to their attack. And having Benji Michel here not only could be a good depth piece, but could be a guy that could be useful coming off the bench, because we saw during his time with Orlando City when he did come off the bench, he was a very impactful player for Orlando City as well. Now, St. Louis, they have announced that they are interested in signing Whitecaps forward, or actually former Whitecaps forward Simon Betcher. So this, of course, is the Sam Adeniran replacement. And remember Simon Betcher, of how he had that one good spell where he was just unstoppable. And I think that's kind of what got hit his move to Europe. And just like Benji Michel, he's another player that didn't really quite work out when he made his move to Europe. And now it seems like he's coming back to MLS. And again, St. Louis, knowing that they lost Sam Dermott, this is kind of a like to like replacement in my opinion. Both of those players not only plays in the same position, but they're kind of like how they perform with their previous club, where Sam Danarin had a really good run for St. Louis in their inaugural season before it just completely fall off the map because of what I just said earlier. And then Simon Betcher, same thing. He had a really good run, kind of fall off a bit, but eventually did make his move to Europe because of that good run that he had with the Whitecaps last season. And now it seems like he's coming back to MLS. So again, just a light for light replacement, and we'll see whether or not if this deal is going to get done. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and now talk about news that's not related to transfers and also signings. And unfortunately, we're gonna have to talk about injury news, and I got some more bad news for Nashville fans because Tyler Boyd is done for the season after he undergo ACL surgery. So yeah, just as you thought that this season can't get any worse for Nashville because of the bad run of form that they had, Tyler Boyd is now done for the season, and I'm not surprised the fact that he eventually had to do undergo this procedure because he hasn't been playing a lot of games. He's been injured a lot this season, and yeah, it feels like now that they decide to pull the plug and decide that this procedures will have to do. And the worst news for Nashville is that because they're doing this during the I wouldn't say the near the end of the season, but with the way that we play so many games right now and are about to head to August, he might not be even available by the time the new season begin. And he has been a very big piece for this Nashville side when he is healthy. And yeah, just a rough loss for Nashville in a season that just have not gone well whatsoever for them. And then the news that I think everybody's been wanted to know is the situation with Lionel Messi and his injury update. So we know what happened in that game against Colombia in Copa America final. He had to be subbed off because of an injury. And you could see his knee was just really swollen because of that, and everybody was fearing that it better not be the A injury that caused that. Now the good news is it isn't the A injury, and for those of you that don't know what the A injury means, it's ACL that he tear. Instead, it seems like he suffered a ligament injury to his right. Actually, I don't know why I wrote right angle there, but he suffered a ligament injury in his right knee, and that Inter Miami actually didn't say when exactly his timeline is going to return. Now, I'm obviously no doctor, but have heard that depending on how significant that ligament injury is, and it probably may be a bit significant because there was a lot of swelling in that right knee when they show it during that Copa America final. It could be like 6 to 8 weeks. It could be a couple of months. He maybe could be back in time before Inter Miami started to make the push to the playoffs or started to begin their playoff quest and hope to lift MLS Cup. By the way, this is definitely a bit of a blow for Inter Miami, and it's also a bit of a blow to all those teams that are about to play Inter Miami. I mean that has to be very frustrating, not only if you're an Inter Miami fans, but also for all these Eastern Conference fans that might not get a chance to see Messi play last year. Now that he's going to be injured, and now it seems like all that big amount of season tickets that they had to pay, or if they were thinking that maybe they can make some revenue out of that so that they can pay part of the next season ticket. Yeah, that's obviously not going to happen. And also, this pretty much also confirmed that I don't think he's going to play the MLS All Star game. And I actually did check earlier the tickets for the MLS All Star game. It has plummeted ever since it was announced with this injury. Like it was about like $300 or $400. It has now gone as cheap as 60 or 80 dollars. Like those tickets are even cheaper than going to Columbus Crew game ever since this injury has happened. And also as a result, with the way that Messi is not going to play in the MLS All Star game, it was announced that Lucho Acosta has named as the team captain. Again, it was either between him and Messi in terms of being the team captain, and with the way that Messi looks like he's not going to be available in this game, Acosta basically is the defining factor of this. And yeah, certainly congratulations to him of getting being the team captain. And also, this is the second consecutive year that has happened since last year. He was also the team captain for the MLS All Star team against Arsenal. But yeah, again, just a bit of a devastating blow for Inter Miami and just in general in the whole of the league because Don Gabbard deep in his office in New York, he's probably shedding some tears to see this injury happened because this MLS All Star game, this was an opportunity to not only showcase the best of MLS, but also showcase and get eyeballs from the rest of the world to see this game. And now Messi, of course, is injured, and that's not going to happen. Now, moving on in terms of the next news. So Moses Bombito and Diego Luna has been added to the All Star roster. So I think these are due to the fact that some of the players got injured in the All Star game and not being able to play. I think Diego Luna getting added is because of the Messi injury. But again, as I said before, I know that deep in his mind he would rather go to the Olympics rather than the All Star game, and I've said before and I'll say it again. This is this. I feel like the Olympic team is gonna regret not having Diego Luna of how good he's been producing for RSL this season, but it's a small consolation prize that he is going to get to go to the All Star game alongside with Moses Bombito, who I feel like he could be in candidate for winning Defender of the Year this season. He's been a very important piece for this Colorado Rapids side. So important that he actually played himself into the Canadian national team and become the regular center back for the Canadian national team doing Copa America. So he could be in candidate of winning Defender of the Year this year. Now, DirecTV has announced that they're going to be the main shirt sponsor for San Diego FC. Man, I almost forgot DirecTV exists because nowadays, with the way that cord cutting is the way to go, DirecTV and Dish feels like it's second nature. Even Xfinity with the way that they have their little box as well. That feels like it's now kind of redundant because of the amount of cutting kind of network like Fubo TV and Sling kind of happened. But obviously, I think the reason why San Diego decided to announce this is because again maybe a reminder that DirecTV still exists, and also some of these bars that play MLS game. I think DirecTV had a package on this, so that they can still play MLS game, even though MLS game now are exclusively on Apple TV. But nevertheless, it's also been a while since I've seen a big cable company or a big TV broadcast company has been a shirt sponsor for a team. Like the only time I remember a big company like this that broadcast game that's sponsor a team is LAFC when YouTube TV was their sponsor for a bit, and now it seems like we're seeing DirecTV doing the same thing. And again, just a little reminder that DirecTV, of course, still exists. And then finally, in the last news of the week, MLS could potentially implement a rule where only the captain can talk to the referee. Now, this was a rule that was implemented in the Euros, and it's gonna be interesting to see if they eventually will implement this rule. There are some pros and cons in terms of this rule. The pro, of course, is that this will basically protect the referee. Where I never like when referee are just getting surrounded by the players. Like honestly, I think that's kind of silly to see. I mean, I know maybe that might be used as a way to try to pressure the referee to call the game differently, but it just never does. And in many ways, you're basically asking yourself to get a yellow card as a resort of that. But also, the big cons of this is that how is this going to be implement like how consistently is this going to be implemented? Because when there's a player that get foul and they have to get up to talk to the referee, and if you implement this rule, so by rule they can't talk to the referee even though they got fouled by a player. So are you going to give him a yellow card? Or if you have a situation where if there's going to be a mass confrontation, or even when the players are surrounded by the referee, do you give everybody a yellow card? Because if that's the case, I mean that's not really good when it comes to this rule, and fans are going to be very upset about that because well now we're going to have games where it could be more 10v9 or 9v8 because everybody got a yellow card just because they surround the referee because of a bad call, or the fact that referee don't implement this rule very very consistently. And I won't be surprised that's the case because we have seen before where any rules that is related to referees and just the rule of the game, it hasn't been implemented consistently whatsoever. I mean, even the 2 minute rule where remember that rule that MLS implemented where players had to be out for 2 minutes to receive treatment and stuff? That rule has not been implemented consistently at all. I mean, there's been times where they even have said that there's some leniency if it's like a head injury or some like serious injury that they can come back and so forth. And it just feels like that rule some players are taking advantage of that rule, and that they could suffer a knee injury, but they're kind of holding their heads thinking that that's a head injury so that they can come back straight away. So again, there's a pro and con when it comes to this rule being implemented, and we'll see whether or not if it is going to be implemented in MLS starting next season. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the news of the week episode. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these news. And again, I know there's going to be more news that's going to come out today that I didn't mention here on the board, and I'll mention it in the next news of the week episode. But in case if I did miss some news that has happened in the last couple of days that's not on the board, let me know in the comments below as always. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.